So, Episode Echoes is on a hiatus right now. That is honestly the best way to describe it. And with it, there will be no story content in Destiny for the next 3 weeks, leading up to July 16th, I believe it is. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that is the next date for story content. While I am okay with this because I still haven't beaten the base main game of Elden Ring, and I really want to play Shadow of the Erdtree, but yeah, I gotta get through the rest of the game first. So I'm doing that. I also have a crap ton of other games in my backlog that I have not touched. So taking a break from Destiny 2 while still doing some endgame stuff like GMs and raids and whatnot, it's nice. Destiny is always a game for me that I can come back to, and especially because I hit the grind so hard in the final shape, a break is warranted, or at least, playing it less for me is going to be what's going to happen over these next 3 weeks. Now, for a lot of people, that might not be the case. You might still be behind. Maybe you just picked up the final shape. Maybe you've been kind of sipping it like a fine espresso instead of just, chugging it like like a beer. To you, whatever you deem fit for this expansion or all of this content, you do you, boo, okay? But the main problem I have with the new episodic format, and listen, there's more than just one, is that it's very, very drip feedy. And we have always, as a community, complained about how we dislike this system. And, seasonal content was kind of excusable, because at least it gave you a reason to come back to the game each week, and at least there was little bits of story here and there. I love how, literally, Season of the Deep, we got bits and pieces of the cutscene that would then explain the origins of the Witness, and yeah, that's right, we had to wait for a season after the expansion in which the big bad did the big bad thing to get an explanation, and that's a whole other conversation that's already been talked to death. But the point here is that the structure doesn't work. It doesn't keep people interested in the game, and second of all, it doesn't promote consistency. It doesn't give you the cohesiveness needed to tell a story. Let's take The Boys, for example. It's formerly a comic series only that was adapted into a TV series on Amazon Prime. It's a great TV series, by the way. You should definitely go watch it. But they do an entire season, and they finish up some plot points, and they get it done. It's over within, let's say, there's 8 episodes, that's 8 weeks. Done. And that's kind of the structure we had with the seasonal stuff beforehand. But now with the episodes, we're 2 on, 3 off. And I assume that's going to continue to be the structure for the rest of these acts. If you don't know, these episodes are cut up into acts. There's going to be 3 of them. And yeah, it's, again, drawn out over a long period of time, which, again, even if you're telling a standalone story, which is what Bungie's trying to do here, there's no longer do we have this, this long storyline where the seasons connect with each other and flow into the expansion. Now we have these episodes which are supposed to be, again, standalone stories. But how can you make a standalone story interesting and, again, keep people engraved in it when you're taking such long breaks? So, I had a shower thought. How do you fix this? Well, there's a couple of ways you can do this. And I've talked a lot about how you can just honestly release it all in one go. Because they already have all of this stuff done. I assume there's very little that they have to do to put this into the game and just let people play it. Now, I can understand the further episodes and why that stuff is going to take a while. I'm pretty sure they just have some concept art for the 3rd episode we're going to get, which is going to be Heresy, and we're going to be heading back to the Dreadnought and all that. But I think for the most part that the 2nd episode, Revenant, which will feature Fikrul the Fanatic, is probably pretty much done as well. And most likely the reason Bungie won't do something like this is because They have Echoes all done, they have Revenant that's mostly done, and they have Heresy, which they have barely started, right? If they release Echoes now, that means people wouldn't have they would take a long break from Destiny, right, before Revenant comes out. And then, when Revenant comes out, Heresy's behind, and you see this, the schedule does not promote that type of a release. Now, what does promote this type of release? Well, I'm glad you asked. The Final Shape was such a huge content drop. There's so much to do right now. And if you take out the episodes, it's really not that much. Like, we got a couple of missions, a seasonal activity, and that's it. Like, there's a very small drop of seasonal content that we have access to at the moment. And it's a drop of content that us D2 players, at least I can go without. I don't want to speak for everyone in this case, but I think once you listen to my theory and my fix for this issue, you might agree with it. So let's say they pushed back the release of this episode. It could be a month, it could be 2 months. Let's say Episode Echoes came out sometime in August, like the beginning of August. This gives the team a whole 2 months to work on stuff. And again, it provides a nice little gap for people to get caught up for the Final Shape, for people to play it at their own pace. And again, like me, maybe they put Destiny down for a little bit, do some endgame stuff, and come back for the episode. Or maybe they just keep playing, they keep doing GMs, Nightfalls, etc. This makes a lot more sense to me, at least, because then if you set it back for 2 months, you get more development time on the episode that hasn't been worked on the most yet, which again would be Heresy, and it gives you time to polish Echoes. It gives you time to go back, do triple, quadruple checks on everything, and make sure it's the best it can be. And we got that with the Final Shape. They delayed it so that it could be better, and it turned out to be one of the best, if not the best, expansion released in Destiny's entire history, which is saying a lot because we've had plenty of good expansions, but man, this in my opinion takes the cake by a lot. So it would only make sense for them to do this from a development point of view. I guess from a marketing and money point of view, it makes zero sense. But what's happening here is that, the counter argument to that, at least, is the episode is suffering. Again, we got this very small amount of story. It wasn't presented well. It wasn't executed well. It was the far opposite of what the Final Shape was as a story. And people look at it and they're like, man, this is so disappointing. It's such a step back, and it causes me to start to have alarms going off in my head. Like, is this another regression? Did we just reach the peak of Destiny just before the fall, right? Like, is Destiny gonna fall off the cliff now after the height was reached? We don't know. And this is a constant theme throughout Destiny's history, right? You had it with The Dark Below, you had it with Curse of Osiris, you had it with Season of the Risen, Season of Defiance, and all the way up to Episode Echoes. And I guarantee you, it's not the material that sucks. It's the method in which it's being presented to the players. Again, piece by piece, little by little, just enough to get you interested, but not enough to keep you invested. And that's the problem, because some people might play it and never come back. And some people might just wait until the entire episode is out and binge it, like watching a Netflix series, right? So I really hope they consider something like this, because I can only imagine they've made a crap load of money with the Final Shape, and they're doing just fine. I mean, I don't want to assume anything, but that's just my guess. And they don't need whatever income or revenue that they would get from Episode Echoes, because a lot of people have already bought the annual pass, so they're gonna play it. It's just a matter of when and how. And listen, most people are not gonna enjoy it in its current state. Anyways, those are my thoughts on the matter for now. I'm sure a lot of content creators have been talking about this stuff recently, but I just wanted to present one way, or a couple of ways, in which Bungie can go about fixing this or changing it. Because again, we were promised change, but never, it just didn't happen. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.